a little bit about Rocky Mountaineer and Silverseas, as well as this special package we have put together, combining some of the most amazing sites that you'll see in Western Canada and the Pacific Coast. So I just want to start by introducing myself. My name is Ali. I'm the BDM or Business Development Manager for Rocky Mountaineer. And to give you a little bit of an overview of Rocky Mountaineer, we are a luxury rail line that runs through the Rocky Mountains and Western Canada. To give you a little bit of a background on Rocky Mountaineer, we are partners with CN and CP. We do lease their rail lines, and we've been in operations since 1990. So last year was pretty bittersweet for us. We had to suspend all our journeys for our 30th year anniversary. But this year's a new year, and we're saying 31 is the new 30. Rocky Mountaineer is a Canadian-owned and family-owned organization. And really what we do is provide a luxurious way to see our own backyard. It's truly breathtaking, the sights that Canada has to offer. I was just on our trains last week, and I got to tell you, the sights are just something else when you're there in person. So for the purposes of this presentation, I'm going to go over our rail routes. I'll start by talking about the first rail route being the first passage to the west. This is actually part of the group package we have put together. So the first passage to the west is our oldest and most historic route. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about the history of Canada and the history of rail and the importance of place to Canada, then this is the rail line for you. You'll notice that there's blue diamonds in Vancouver and Lake Louise and Banff. Those are beginning and ending journeys, and the train does run one way in either direction, east and west. And that white diamond you see in the middle, Kamloops, that's where we overnight. So you don't actually sleep on board the train. We want to make sure people are traveling during daylight hours, so they're able to enjoy all the beautiful scenery that Western Canada has to offer. Now, not very many people know this, but British Columbia was almost a US state. Sir John A. Macdonald's vision for the nation was to unite the nation east and west by rail. So he made a promise to British Columbia when he became prime minister and promised them a rail line across Canada to be a part of the country. Obviously, the Rocky Mountains presented a really big challenge. And when we had initially constructed the rail line, it was built on an incline across an aptly named hill called Big Hill. And it was just too steep, and it caused a train derailment, which had some fatalities. So we actually borrowed an idea from Switzerland, and we constructed the spiral tunnels, which are a 1.9 kilometer long figure 8 through 2 different mountains. And they go up on a shallow incline. And it's really a feat of modern engineering. Yeah, the spiral tunnels are something that people from all over the world do this specific tour just to see. So it really is absolutely amazing. So starting out your journey, leaving your hotel, boarding onto the rail, you'll be greeted by Rocky Mountaineer hosts. In our gold leaf level of service, there's 2 hosts on board the train. And on our silver leaf level of service, there's 3 hosts on board the train.
Okay, just Ali.
Yes.
We're actually seeing you, not the slide.
Oh, that is very strange. Let me stop sharing for a moment. And let me try to reshare. Is everybody able to see everything?
Yes,
Yeah.
back on track. Wonderful.
All right,
I mean, you're a good-looking guy, but that's not what you want to show.
I appreciate it. You're too kind. All right, I'm just going to go back one slide just to show people the map and where this route operates. So again, between Vancouver and Lake Louise and Banff, with an overnight in Kamloops, just to split up the journey, get some rest and relaxation, and continue onwards into Vancouver. So leaving your hotel, coming on board the train, you'll be greeted by your hosts. and you'll be presenting your boarding pass, and all your luggage will be ported over separately. So anything that you want to bring with you on board the train, you can bring with you. All your luggage will go in a coach truck over to your next destination hotel. Once you arrive in Kamloops, you'll already be pre-checked into your hotel room. You'll receive a room key. All your luggage will be up in your hotel room waiting for you. So once you get to your hotel, you can freshen up, go out on the town, and then get dressed for the next day and continue onwards. So some of the sites that we'll see along this journey as we leave the hustling, bustling cities is Cisco Crossing. And Cisco Crossing actually plays a large part in Canadian history. This is where the two competing rail lines that run parallel to the Fraser River actually intersect. It was constructed in 1909 and is really big with train buffs. So you can't see it in this image over here, but towards the right, there's a hill and there's a highway that runs along that side. And people will actually congregate on that hill just to take pictures of Cisco Crossing because it plays such an important part in Canadian history. And then continuing on along through the Fraser Valley, we arrive at Hell's Gate. And the early pioneer, Sir Simon Fraser, named this area Hell's Gate because he likened the terrain as the gates of hell. This is where the channel is kind of narrow, creating these rushing rapids. We travel in a much more luxurious fashion than Sir Simon Fraser did at the time. But Hell's Gate has been used as a fishing location by indigenous tribes for over 400 years. And it does play a very important part in the local culture. And it's also just a magnificent sight to behold from the train. And then continuing onwards on our journey, we arrive at Calgary. Now, Calgary doesn't look all too impressive. We do slow down as we pass by, but Calgary is where the last railroad spike was driven into the ground, uniting the nation east and west by rail. So it does play a very important part in our own history and the history of rail. And the last site that I want to talk about on the first passage to the west is Castle Mountain. And Castle Mountain is just truly breathtaking. Its name was actually changed back in the day to Eisenhower Mountain to honor the US President Dwight Eisenhower. But much to the chagrin of locals, Canadians didn't like a Canadian monument being named after a US president. So in 1979, we actually changed the name back to Castle Mountain, and we honored President Eisenhower by naming a towering peak after him called Eisenhower Tower. The next journey that I wanted to talk about was the journey through the clouds. So the journey through the clouds shares the same route from Vancouver into Kamloops, but this one splits off, goes up north into Jasper. You'll notice that image of Mount Robson in the background. Mount Robson is the tallest peak in all of the Canadian Rockies. It's the second tallest peak in all of the Rockies at over 3,900 meters tall. It's actually so tall that it has its own weather system up there. So it could be the clearest, bluest day out, and the peak may not be visible because it's enshrouded in its own clouds and storms up there. And continuing onwards along through the Fraser Valley, the journey through the clouds is much more scenic and romantic. We arrive in Kamloops, which is a quaint little rail town. There's a ton of restaurants and some shopping to do. This is where our trains actually sleep in the wintertime and get serviced. And then continuing onwards on the next day, we head up north, and you'll notice that a lot of the areas where we pass through, there's no hiking trails, there's no roads, there's really untouched wilderness. since the creation of the railway. And again, the scenery is just absolutely stunning with some of the valleys that we passed through, going through the Caribou Mountains and the rivers. And one of the biggest attractions along the journey through the clouds is Pyramid Falls. And we actually passed by so close on Pyramid Falls that if you're in our gold leaf level of service and you're on our outdoor vestibule, you can actually get the mist from the waterfall. And ending off the day, we arrive into Jasper, where if you're a wildlife buff, then Jasper is the spot to go to. You're guaranteed to see some amazing wildlife. And this is just another image of Mount Robson from Jasper National Park. And the last journey I want to talk about on our Canadian routes is the Rainforest to Gold Rush. Now, if you've ever been out to the Rocky Mountains or Western Canada, this is the journey that you want to do because you're guaranteed to see things and experience things that you never have before. The Rainforest to Gold Rush has the most dramatic changes in scenery and typography of any of our journeys. And you also get to do 3 days on board the train versus 2 days on board the train from our other packages. So starting out, leaving Vancouver, we leave at about 8 a.m. and hug the coast and head up north, where you arrive into Whistler. And the Alpine Village in Whistler has a ton of activities to do year-round, as well as the remnants from the Winter Olympics. You can also take the gondolas up the mountains in Whistler, which are absolutely stunning. And then the next day, we leave that very temperate rainforest type of atmosphere, and we cross Seton Lake, where you can see that the climate's becoming much more desert and arid-like. The journey ends off that day into Quesnel, and Quesnel is an old mining town. I think it might actually be the oldest mining town in North America, which is where the Rainforest to Gold Rush name comes from. There's no gold there anymore now, but it's a nice spot to catch some rest and break up our journey before we continue onwards into Jasper, where we go through the Caribou Mountains, where there's tons of lakes and valleys and just picturesque scenery. And as we arrive into Jasper, this is Pyramid Island. It's truly breathtaking. I'll have a little bit more to say on Jasper in just a moment. And circle journeys are where you can actually combine 2 separate rail routes into one itinerary and get all of what the Rocky Mountains in Western Canada has to offer. I'm going to highlight some of our hotel partners. Hotel partners have been broken down into Silverleaf and Goldleaf. You can liken Silverleaf hotel partners to a Hilton or a Sheraton or a Marriott type of hotel. And our Goldleaf hotel partners are your Fairmonts, the Pan Pacifics, the Rimrock hotels. The Moose Lodge is a Silverleaf hotel, although we do have Goldleaf hotel categories as premium suites. And the Fairmont Chateau Lake Louise, which is probably one of the most picturesque hotels on the planet, is part of our Goldleaf collection. To get an idea of what our Silverleaf hotel rooms look like, this is a standard room in our Silverleaf, and this is a standard room in our Goldleaf hotels. There is the option to do a Goldleaf upgrade as well, if you wanted to upgrade from the standard room to a deluxe suite. And just highlighting some of the destinations, I'm just going to start by speaking about Banff. And if anybody hasn't been to Banff, you truly owe it to yourself to make your way out there. It is absolutely breathtaking. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's such a quaint little mountain town with picturesque scenery in the backdrop. This image is one of my favorites, although I don't believe it does the scenery justice. It's truly something else to be able to walk out of a restaurant or a shop and just see the mountain landscape in the backdrop. Of course, there's a ton of activities to do, and national park passes are included in all of our packages as well. So we do have a group going with Cruise Holidays of Clarkson and the Silversea's package that we have. And the Banff National Parks Pass is included in this package. And then moving on to Lake Louise. Lake Louise may just be the most photographed lake in the entire world. To give you a little bit of trivia on Lake Louise, that glacier in the back of this photo, in the springtime when it melts, the water rolls down the mountainside and picks up a mineral called rock flour. And when the water settles at the bottom of the lake, it reflects the sunlight in a very unique way that gives Lake Louise this very specific blue tinge. Pardon me. So that's how Lake Louise actually gets its very unique color. This is the scenery that you would get from the Fairmont Chateau Lake Louise. It is truly breathtaking, the lake view rooms at the hotel. And then moving on to Jasper. Jasper has a ton of activities to do. This is the Malayan Lake and the boat cruise that goes along that lake. Lunch is usually included in that cruise, but there's also the skywalk that is about 250 meters above the forest and gives amazing Kodak moments. Pardon me, I'm just coming off of a cold, so I seem to be coughing and getting hoarse now. The skywalk is super popular and gives amazing scenery and that perfect Kodak moment. You can see a little bit of the Columbia Icefields Parkway in the background. The Columbia Icefields are absolutely magnificent. You can pull over anywhere and get just gorgeous scenery. And then included in many of our packages that go to Jasper is the Athabasca Glacier with our exclusive touring partner, Brewster, on the Columbia Ice Explorer. You do want to make sure that you dress accordingly. Oh, my technology just seems to be getting away from me today. You do want to make sure you dress accordingly because it could be the middle of summer. You are going out onto a glacier, so you do want to make sure you dress with like a warm sweater or a light jacket and pants. You do see this gentleman over here in shorts, and he's probably rethinking his choices that day. And just moving on to our rail service levels, we have 2 levels of service. I'll start by talking about Silverleaf, which is a single-story, semi-domed car where dining is done at your seat. Meals are made on board the train, and they're served to you with actual linens, real glassware, real silverware, and actual plateware, not a plastic takeout dinner. And everything that we source is local. So the salmon is the same salmon that is swimming in the Fraser River. The beef is AAA Alberta beef. The wine is from the Okanagan Wine Valley. The beer is craft brewed in BC. And we do have top shelf spirits from all over the world. So that may not necessarily be local, but everything else is. We actually work with over 1,000 local suppliers in the southern BC and Alberta regions. And as you can see in Silverleaf, you have oversized windows and they're semi-domed. So you get really great views of the scenery around you. If you don't want to leave your seat to have a meal, then Silverleaf is a great option. Our seats are very wide and spacious. They have more room than a domestic business class flight would. And there's also chargers for phones and cameras, should you wish to, if you need to recharge your phone because you've been taking so many photos. Because the train only operates at about 40 to 50 kilometers an hour, and we do slow down for any major sites and any wildlife that comes by, there's always going to be an opportunity to take a photograph, regardless of what side of the train you're sitting on. And then moving on to Goldleaf. Goldleaf is really our flagship. Dining is done in the bottom car. And as you can see, the meals are absolutely extraordinary. If you're a foodie, then the Goldleaf level of service is definitely for you. And up top is really the star of the show. You have a fully panoramic, fully domed car with seats that are climate controlled and really provide just spectacular views. It's not a two-story car, it's a bi-level car, but this is one of my favorite images of our gold leaf level of service. It really shows you the amazing views that you can get on board the train. Because you're sitting higher up, you get really, really great vantage points. And if you have any struggles with mobility and navigating steps, you don't need to worry because we do have a single person hydraulic lift that you can see towards the back of this image over here. So anybody that is in a wheelchair or a walker, or if you just have struggles with navigating steps, just let us know and we'll be able to accommodate. And the outdoor viewing platform is exclusive to our gold leaf level of service. Really gives you the opportunity to get that crisp, fresh mountain air. And speaking about seasonality, we operate in 3 seasons: spring, summer, and fall, and each have their own benefits. So spring is a great time to travel if you're interested in seeing the wildlife. The birds are flocking back up north. The bear are coming out of hibernation. So it's a great time to see mama bear and her cubs. And because it's shoulder season, it is a little bit cheaper to travel during springtime. Summertime is another phenomenal time of year to travel. It offers the longest daylight hours. It offers the warmest weather. It is usually busy in the Rocky Mountains, so you do want to make sure that you book well in advance and keep that in mind with regards to crowds in the Rocky Mountains. And then fall is a phenomenal time of year to travel if you're interested in seeing the wildlife as well. The salmon rush happens in September, so it's a great time to see the bear and eagle fishing for salmon in the Fraser River. And the leaves are changing colors going out of the Rocky Mountains. Because it is the other side of our shoulder season, you do get a little bit of a price break during the fall time as well. And then just speaking about enhanced flexibility for 2021, we do have risk-free deposits and providing full refundability up until 30 days prior. And you can move your dates twice with no penalty up to the 2023 season. And it's available throughout. And then our regular terms and conditions apply for our 2022 season. And anybody looking to book into 2021, we do have our Canadian resident offer, which offers up to $1,400 in savings per couple on packages. That's available up until August 16th, 2021. So be sure to reach out to your Cruise Holidays of Clarkson representative if you're interested in traveling on 2021, as well as a package. I'm going to avoid just these are just some of the awards we've won over the past years, but speaking about the specific group that we have, there's specific inclusions with the Rocky Mountaineer portion and Silverseas for the group that is organized by Cruise Holidays of Clarkson. And that one is going to be operating for 16 days, I believe 16 days in total between October 24th and September 8th. So that's it for mine. I'm going to pass it off to Mark to take over.
Okay, thank you very much, Ellie. That was a fantastic presentation. I've actually been on the Rocky Mountaineer quite a few times, and everything you said about it is true. It's an absolutely phenomenal experience. So as Ali said, once you arrive in Vancouver, passing through all of this spectacular scenery in the Canadian Rockies, of course, you arrive in the beautiful West Coast city of Vancouver, which is really one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And you will be boarding the spectacular Silver Muse. So a few words about the Muse. It's a small ship. Silversea is a small format luxury brand. We are not like the big players in the industry that you may be more familiar with, like Princess Cruises or Norwegian Cruise Line or NCL. We don't carry 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 guests. Our largest ships carry just under 600. So Silver Muse carries 596. And of course, one of the highlights is sailing out of Vancouver. It's such a beautiful city. You'll sail underneath the beautiful Lionsgate Bridge past Stanley Park. And then, of course, you're on your way to Alaska. Now, Alaska is really a world unto itself. It is a spectacular place to cruise. I'm showing you the map now. This is the routing. You'll be sailing from Vancouver up along the Inside Passage, and you'll be visiting a number of very unique small towns along the Alaskan Panhandle. So we'll be visiting Ketchikan, Juneau, Skagway, Sitka. You'll also see the spectacular Hubbard Glacier, otherwise known as the Galloping Glacier. And then, of course, the cruise ends in Seward, which is the port city for Anchorage. The reason why cruising in Alaska is so popular is because this is where all of the spectacular scenery is. And cruising makes it really popular because you cannot drive here. Okay, you cannot rent a car from Vancouver and drive up the coast to Anchorage. The best way to see Alaska is by cruise ship because the entire coastline is very fjord-like. And really to go from Vancouver to Anchorage, you would need to actually double back, into Alberta, drive up to Edmonton, through northern Alberta, through the Yukon, into central Alaska, and then drive down to Anchorage. So the scenery you're going to see is only accessible via cruise ship. Alaska is, of course, a vast land. It's twice the size of the state of Texas, actually more than twice the size. And to give you an idea of the size, it actually is the size of all of the states along the eastern seaboard combined. So from Florida all the way to Maine, all of the ones with a darker tinge make up the area of the state of Alaska. The Inside Passage, of course, for many people is a big highlight because the cruise ships sail very, very close to the coastline. As I mentioned, very, very fjord-like. So when you look at this scenery, for example, you might be under the impression that you're sailing through the Norwegian fjords, but it is Alaska. And of course, this is what the scenery looks like. It's just absolutely stunning. Beautiful bays, mountains, little coves, beautiful islands, all the way through. And on your first day, you'll have an opportunity to really get to know the ship. So I'll tell you a few things about Silversea and who you'll be sailing with. We are the world's largest luxury cruise line. We're luxurious and all-inclusive. So once you get on board the ship, very much like Rocky Mountaineer, it's a very inclusive experience. Everything is top shelf. Everything is quite exceptional. So we're known for our exceptional cuisine. Silver Muse actually has 8 dining options, so 8 different restaurants to choose from, which is a very high level of choice when you consider that this ship carries under 600 guests. Silversea offers open seating, so you don't have to, we don't have first seating, second seating. When you're ready to have dinner, you just come into one of the restaurants. There's the Atlantide restaurant, there's La Terrazza. Those don't require a reservation, and you can come at your leisure, either alone or with friends, and seating is available for you. Dining on Silversea is very intimate. There are quite a few tables of 2, unlike on the larger cruise ships where it's tables of 8, tables of 10. So we do offer the larger tables as well if you want to get to know people, but sometimes people just want to have that intimate dinner for 2 in one of our restaurants. And of course, being all-inclusive, we offer up to 63 different bottles of wine that are included. These are all top shelf wines from around the world, and they're all included in the price of your Silversea cruise. The food, of course, like on Rocky Mountaineer, it's very, very high level of cuisine, culinary artistry. And then, of course, the other thing which we do very, very well is the service. On Silversea, because there are less than 600 guests, the service levels are very, very high. We typically have 1 crew member per guest. And so we have impeccable service throughout the ship, and we offer butler service for all guests, not just for certain guests in certain suite categories. Everybody on board Silversea will have the services of their own butler. And so you can have your butler serve you breakfast on your private veranda. You can have them serve you champagne and canapes in your suite, or caviar and champagne in your suite at any time. You just need to pick up your phone, available on the request throughout the ship at all hours of the day. Silversea is also renowned because it's an all-suite product. So unlike other cruise ships, there are no inside cabins, there are no outside cabins, there are no cabins. It's all suites. And so there are suites only. This is veranda suite. So veranda suite is our leading category. And to give you an idea of the size, it's 386 square feet, is the smallest suite on Silversea. Then of course we move up to silver category, which is over 700 square feet. And then you get into the 1 and 2 bedroom suite categories. And so the owner's suite, the royal suites, etc. So all suite product. And of course, suites all come with both bath and shower, marble floor to ceiling. So it's a very spacious vessel and very, very elegant. The other thing that Silversea is renowned for is the space. Silversea is the destination leader. We sail to more destinations than any other cruise line, but we're also the space leader, because on ships the size of Silver Muse, our competitors will carry 100 to 150 more guests, which means at double occupancy, that's 50 to 75 additional suites. So what we do is we repurpose all of that space into more public areas and more restaurants. So we have very spacious lounges. This is, of course, the Dolce Vita lounge, very spacious, very open. My favorite lounge on any Silversea ship is always the observation lounge, because it's located all the way forward on the top deck, and you have the windows kind of slanting in, so reduces the glare by 100%, and you're able to take photographs and actually see exactly where the ship is sailing to. Another very popular lounge on board Silversea is the Panorama Lounge. It's located aft, or all the way at the back of the vessel, and of course very spacious, very roomy. And the thing that I like most about the Panorama Lounge is it's got a beautiful outdoor covered area where you can enjoy cocktails and drinks as you're sailing and admiring the beautiful scenery in Alaska. And then of course, the show lounge is where you go after dinner if you're interested in seeing a show. You can see here, there are no pillars, posts, or obstructions of any kind. There's clear sight lines to the stage. And of course, the ship has a beautiful fitness center with all types of ellipticals and treadmills and all types of mechanical weights and equipment. And then of course, there's the Zagara Spa. So if you'd like to, have a massage or just relax in one of the therapeutic pools, this is a very, very popular space on board Silver Muse. And of course, the sauna with the best view in cruising, where you can just watch the beautiful scenery go by as you're in the sauna. And of course, this is again one of the therapeutic pools on Silver Muse. Sun deck, of course, also very popular. There'll be a lot of people here because Alaska is really known for its scenery. And of course, very spacious deck with a beautiful central pool. And of course, a great opportunity to get a 360-degree view of where you're sailing to. We have covered chaise lounges, towels everywhere. You don't have to reserve towels. There's always plenty of chaise lounges for everyone. And of course, there's also a few jacuzzi tubs, so you can enjoy the Alaskan scenery from a jacuzzi hot tub if you like. And of course, in the evenings, it's a very, very popular area where people come out for drinks and just look out at the scenery, because in Alaska, of course, as you go farther north, the sunset is much later. So you have an opportunity to enjoy the beautiful scenery al fresco. So the first port of call that you're going to encounter is Ketchikan. And Ketchikan is known as Alaska's first city, because it's the first city that was reachable from Seattle or the state of Washington in the lower 48. And also, of course, the first city that you'll encounter when you enter into Alaska. And Ketchikan is also known as the salmon capital of the world. Ketchikan is really an extension of the BC coast. So of course it's known for its salmon, salmon capital of the world. There are 5 main species of Pacific salmon. Chinook or king salmon is the largest. Chinook is the Canadian name. King salmon is the American name. Sockeye salmon is the Canadian name. It's known as red salmon in Alaska. Coho salmon in Canada, known as silver salmon in Alaska. It's more oily salmon. It's got very, very, very high in omega-3 fatty acids. Pink salmon is known as pig salmon. Both countries use the name pink salmon, and chum salmon in Canada is known as dog salmon in Alaska. It's not as firm a flesh as the other fish, and so it's a lower grade of salmon. Highest grades in order of quality is Chinook or king, sockeye, coho, pink, chum. So when you go to Vancouver, or you go to any restaurant in Alaska and you order salmon, that would be like ordering beef. Okay, there are certain grades of salmon, and so it's always known, good to know. So if anytime you see sockeye, coho, Chinook salmon on the menu, these of course the higher quality fish. And of course in Ketchikan you'll have an opportunity to see the spawning salmon as they return back to their spawning grounds. Bears of course are there to beef up and prepare themselves for hibernation. But Ketchikan is known for salmon, and you'll definitely see that. Tongass National Forest is a massive national forest. It takes up most of the Alaskan Panhandle. And this is an area of Alaska. A lot of people, when they think of Alaska, they think it's snow, it's ice, it's glaciers. But it's also got a massive temperate rainforest where you will find some of the biggest trees in the world. So take a look at the picture on the right, and you can see the gentleman there beside a massive Douglas fir. Here's another one. You could stand 5-6 people together holding hands, and you won't quite make it around some of these massive trees that you find in the Tongass National Forest between Ketchikan and Juneau. In Ketchikan itself, Ketchikan, of course, was a fishing town. It was also a cannery. And of course, this is the famous Creek Street. And this is a spawning river. And then, of course, on Creek Street, you'll have an opportunity to visit Dolly's house. Dolly's house is where young, enterprising young women would come to Alaska and open up businesses along Creek Street. One of the things about Alaska is it's a frontier environment. So, of course, Tongass National Forest, there was a lot of logging, and one of the very popular shore excursions in Ketchikan is the lumberjack show. So different teams race to saw logs and balance on logs as they spin them in the water. Who'll chop down the log the fastest, and so it's a great shore excursion to consider when you're visiting Ketchikan. Another great one is Saxman Indian Village, which is located about 8 kilometers south of Ketchikan. And this is the home to the Tlingit natives. And the Tlingit natives, of course, are ones that created some of the most beautiful totem poles. Totem poles were not religious symbols. They really were poles which told a story. So they basically were, the natives would carve into the wood, and each portion of the pole would trigger a memory and a different story. So they basically told the history of the different villages. And of course, you'll have an opportunity to go into the lodge house and see some of the native dancing. But it is a very, very beautiful opportunity to see some of the local native cultures. And then from Ketchikan, we sail northward. And of course, you'll have an opportunity in Alaska to see a lot of the spectacular marine life, including breaching whales. There's whale pods. They'll make announcements if they see whales either starboard or port side. And then, of course, we arrive in Juneau. Now, Juneau is a very fascinating city because it is the capital of Alaska, but it is not accessible to any other part of Alaska by road. It's only accessible by marine highway. And that is because the city of Juneau is on the Gastineau Channel. It backs out onto Mount Juneau, and you're able to take the famous Mount Roberts tramcar all the way up to the top of Mount Roberts, where you can see the city of Juneau. Population of Juneau is only about 30,000, and it's completely surrounded by ice on both ends. You have the massive Taku ice field in behind the city of Juneau. And then, of course, the Taku Glacier comes down on the northern end of the city and completely makes building a road impossible. And then, of course, at the north end of the city, you have the Mendenhall Glacier. So in Juneau, in the town, you'll see cars, but you can only drive about 26 miles from one glacier to the next. So don't think of robbing any banks. When you're in Juneau, you will not be able to get out of town. You're completely isolated. So from Juneau, we sail again, and then we get to Skagway. Now, Skagway is my favorite city in Alaska. I shouldn't really say city, it's a town. It was a city at one time during the gold rush of 1898. This was a boom town. And of course, gold was discovered and people came from all over the world on different routes to get to Skagway. Skagway was known as the poor man's route because you had to climb up White Pass or the neighboring Chilkoot Pass to get into the gold fields of the Klondike. And so Skagway, what I love about it, it still maintains that frontier feel, that frontier atmosphere. And so you're able to take a tour of Skagway. You can see in the lower right, there's a car, it's a yellow park, national parks vehicle. Those they take around and they drive you around the town and they give you a whole history of the gold rush and they take you to the Gold Rush Cemetery. There's also the Red Onion Saloon, which is a favorite with all cruise passengers to go in and have one of the local beers. You know, you get, there's also a Museum of the Gold Rush where you learn about the tens of thousands of people that stampeded up into Canada to find gold and find their fortune in the gold rush. Chilkoot Pass was superseded by White Pass. The people in Skagway were a little bit more enterprising. So in order to assist the stampeders to get into the Yukon, they actually built a railway so you can take a narrow gauge train all the way up to the top of White Pass, and then you take the train down. And of course, that's just one of the great things about Skagway and the history of the gold rush is the town of Daid, where Chilkoot Pass was, died out because everybody wanted to take the easier route via the train that the locals had built. So from Skagway, we continue on, and the next town that we visit is Sitka. Sitka was the first capital of Alaska. It's a beautiful town located, you know, right on the Alaskan Panhandle. It's mainly known for fishing, but it's really famous because it was founded by a lot of Russian and Ukrainian immigrants that came over and settled in the area before Alaska was purchased by the United States in 1867. So, of course, there is St. Michael's Russian Orthodox Church. And you'll have an opportunity to visit that. And then, of course, sailing out of Sitka, you get into glacier country and you see the spectacular Hubbard Glacier. Hubbard is known as the Galloping Glacier. It advances, it retreats, it's spectacular. You'll have an opportunity to get quite close to the glacier. And then you see the famous calving of the ice. And so you'll have an opportunity to see pieces of ice break off the head wall. These are, of course, tidewater glaciers. And these are pieces of ice that are bigger than your house. You know, they're not pieces of ice the size of a car or a desk. They're pieces of ice the size of your house. And they just break off and crash into the tidewater. And it really is something to see. It's absolutely spectacular. And you'll have an opportunity to see that when you're in Alaska. So you continue on to the town of Seward, which is, of course, the final port of call. This is where you have an opportunity to disembark. And then, of course, the next very, very close by is the city of Anchorage. So if any of you want to stay in Anchorage, Anchorage is the largest city in Alaska, population about 300,000. So about half of the residents of Alaska live in the city of Anchorage, and it's got hotels and it's got beautiful restaurants, and it's on Turnagain Arm, which also has the second highest tides in North America after the Bay of Fundy. And so that's Anchorage. This tour this combination tour aboard the spectacular Rocky Mountaineer and Silversea's Silver Muse begins in Calgary on the 24th of August, ends in Seward and Anchorage on the 8th of September. And so this is a very, very unique and very special time of year. And so, the things which people come to Alaska for are the spectacular scenery. So you can check that off. You will absolutely see spectacular scenery on the Rocky Mountaineer and, of course, on Silversea's cruise up along the coast from Vancouver to Seward. Glaciers, check. You'll see them in the Canadian Rockies, and you'll also see them in Juneau. You'll see them along Hubbard Glacier and all along the coast between the Hubbard Glacier and Seward. Wildlife, check again. You'll see wildlife in the Canadian Rockies. You'll also have an opportunity to see some spectacular wildlife in Alaska, bald eagles, whales. So just beautiful scenery. Seafood, Alaska is known for its salmon. It's known for its king crab. It's known for oysters and mussels, all types of spectacular seafood. You'll have an opportunity to sample authentic Alaskan seafood and authentic seafood from British Columbia on the Rocky Mountaineer and on board Silversea. And then finally, the Aurora Borealis, right? This is not available year round. You need to go late in the season to see this. And this cruise that Janetta and Joe have put together for you is timed perfectly for the Aurora Borealis. And you need to go as far north as possible. The sky, of course, needs to be dark enough for the Aurora Borealis to be visible. The Aurora Borealis is something that appears year round, but you just don't see it because the sky is too bright. It would be like going outside on a beautiful sunny day with blue sky and looking up at the sky and going, where are the stars, right? They are there. You just can't see them because they're washed out by all of the natural light that's trapped in the atmosphere. So you need the sky to get a little bit darker before the stars come out, and you need the sky to be a little bit darker for the Aurora Borealis to come out. And you don't see them typically, around, this time of year because we're very close to the summer solstice and it's very, very bright, very, very late into the evening. You have those twilight hours, but September is the perfect time to see the Northern Lights. And so I'm very, very happy that Janata and Joe chose those dates. So in a nutshell, Silversea is a very elevated experience. So is Rocky Mountaineer. So we are perfectly paired to create a spectacular combination vacation, starting in Calgary, ending in Seward. And both companies offer the finest, Rocky Mountaineer is the finest rail product. Silversea offers the finest at sea. Silversea all-inclusive pricing. So, we include Wi-Fi in our price. We include shore excursions in our price. We include gratuities in our pricing. We include complimentary butler service in our pricing. We include complimentary wines, drinks, alcoholic beverages in our pricing. And of course, we also include air and transfers in our pricing. So anytime you go on Silversea's website or you book a cruise with Silversea through Cruise Holidays of Clarkson, we are always an all-inclusive product. And of course, this is the perfect time to be promoting, travel. We are now back in the water. Silversea has resumed travel in the Eastern Mediterranean. We're currently sailing in the Greek Isles. We are currently sailing in the Galapagos. Later this month, we will be returning to service in Alaska on the 29th of July, and we'll be returning in Iceland on the 30th of July, and we'll be returning to the British Isles in Western Europe on the 3rd of September. So, all of us have been in lockdown for the last 16 months. And so all of us, I think, feel that we've lost a year of our lives. And so it's really kind of time to really look back and think about, this vacation that Janata and Joe have put together is really a trip of a lifetime. And I think all of us have become a little bit more conscious of the fact, because we've all lost a year of our lives. How many trips of a lifetime are there in a lifetime? And so with that said, I'm going to turn everything back over to Joe and Janata to say a few words. But I want to thank all of you for attending tonight and allowing me to speak on behalf of Silversea. And I think I speak on behalf of Ali as well. Thank you for allowing us to speak on behalf of two fantastic products, Rocky Mountaineer and Silversea Cruises. It really is a top shelf combination. And it is a trip of a lifetime experience. So I hope you'll have an opportunity and choose to take advantage of it. And I want to wish all of you bon voyage next year out of Calgary when that rail journey begins on the 26th of August and ends in Seward on the 8th of September. So thank you very much. And I'll turn it over to Joe.
Thank you, Mark. Janetta here, just to really thank both of you for taking us to this beautiful part of our beautiful country. You really whet our appetites to see beautiful scenery and have experiences in the Rockies and Alaska. Joe and I have had the pleasure to travel extensively throughout the world, but we had not made our way to the Rockies or Alaska yet. So we are really excited to have this opportunity. We have reserved space for our guests to come join us on the Rocky Mountaineer journey, and then continue with this beautiful, elegant cruise experience through Alaska with your beautiful ship, the Muse. We have some space available. We have pricing. We have a brochure. We can send you all that information. And like Mark said, we do encourage you to plan sooner rather than later, because as you most likely know yourselves, and most likely most of you have already, made plans for your vacation for next year and 2023. But if Alaska is on your bucket list, or the Rocky Mountaineer is on your bucket list, please give us a call sooner rather than later. We don't want to be disappointed. We don't want you to be disappointed. So now is the time to secure that spot. So we invite you to join us. Hopefully we'll have a wonderful, wonderful group of friends and co-travelers traveling together. A lot of our guests that are with us here this evening have had the opportunity to travel with Joy and I, or Victoria, Tal, Caroline with Clarkson Travel. You will be in good hands with us, and we'll make sure that you get some extra, I don't want to say excitement, but some extra benefits, extra amenities throughout our journey. So do call us, let us know, and let's plan this wonderful vacation together.
So one of the things we did not get from anyone was no one has actually used the chat. And I invite you, before we wrap up, we right on schedule at 7:56, and I thank you very much, Ali and Mark. Beautiful presentations, wonderful, very, very comprehensive. If there are any questions, I invite you to unmute yourself and ask the question, or simply ask it in the chat box.
And if you don't get a chance to do that this evening, then you can always reach us by email, or you can call us. We'll be happy to get back to you.
And on top of that, if you have any friends who you think might benefit from this presentation, it's being recorded. We'll be happy to send your friend a copy of the recording. Any questions at all from anyone? We still have most of us with us. We have 25, and we actually have 30 in total attending. Well,
wonderful.
Thank you very much, Mark, for your time. Thank you very much, Ali, for your time. It's lovely to see you both looking well. And yes, we'd love to get back out there and to get back to normal. And thank you all for attending. Thank you all for being, I guess, patient with us as we've moved from bookings to bookings to bookings, from one year to the next, and cancellations and refunds and whatever else. But thank you very much. It's been a difficult time, and thank you very much for staying with us and for your loyalty. Any comments you'd like to make, Ali and Mark, before we wrap up?
No, I just want to thank you and Janata for putting this together, and thank you for your support over the years. And I hope this group is a big success for you.
Thank you so much. We know it will be. We're really looking forward to it. Thank you both. Thanks, Ali. Thanks, Mark. Thank you, everyone that joined us this evening. Now, we have lots of beautiful thoughts in our heads, all these beautiful photos we saw and all the tidbits of information we heard, thanks to Mark and his knowledge of salmon and
Yes, Mark, that was a lesson.
yeah, that was really great.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay,
And,
take care,
we
everybody.
have one question there.
Oh, we
Let's
do?
just, yeah,
Oh,
we have
yes.
one
Hang
question
on,
in the
hang on,
chat.
everyone. Can you take
The mountaineer without Alaska.
without Alaska?
Yes, if you have
Yes, you
traveled
can.
in Alaska, absolutely. You can only do the first portion. If you have done the mountaineer but not Alaska, you can only do Alaska. Absolutely, we're flexible. Yes.
Yeah.
So just let us know.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay,
And
thank
again,
you.
Thank you again.
Bye-bye.
any questions you have, just drop us a line, call us, whatever. We'll get back to you.
Nice
Okay.
to see you, Mickey. We've never met in person.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye-bye
That's
now.
great.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.